Welcome back to another episode of the CBA's ABCs of Bow Hunting. I am your host, Jake Kunken, and I am solo this week. Before you hang up, because you don't want to hear my voice, this one's important. We're talking about the big game season structure, and we're talking about the final meeting with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the Commission coming up in June. The dates of the meeting are actually going to be June 12th and 13th. You can always go to Google and type CPW Commission, and then that will bring up the website about the commission, the meetings, and ability to sign up to speak. So with that, go to Google, type CPW Commission. That will take you to cpw.state.co.us. And I will link all of this in the show notes, but there's a lot of critical information here that I want you guys to have. And the June 12th and 13th meeting is in Winter Park, so not terribly far from Denver if you can make it. All these meetings are midday, midweek. So if you have a real job, I understand that you have a life to live and obligations. However, that's not going to stop you from emailing in your comments and especially making tailored emails to each commissioner. All of their emails are also linked in the show notes here, but you can also find all of their emails on the website. If you go onto the left side of this CPW Commission page, there's a side that's called members. It's an 11 member of the commission, but we only have 10 members at the moment. For the uninitiated, if you've had your head in a hole or you don't understand what I'm talking about, what we're doing right now is evaluating the next 5 years of the big game season structure, 2025 through 2029. What this resulted from was a survey that went out from CPW last fall. And so the results of that survey, a lot of hunters answered that there's overcrowding. Those same hunters also answered that they prefer to hunt every year. What happened is that Colorado Parks and Wildlife made a staff recommendation to the commission that we fully limit OTC archery elk for residents and non-residents. What they admitted was that the survey results said that the hunters were experiencing overcrowding, and they said that our recommendation goes against what the vast majority of hunters wanted, which is the ability to hunt every year. For me personally, it's quite frustrating that they're willing to listen to our cries about it being overhunting, but unwilling to put the same amount of weight of importance on that idea that we want to hunt every year. What we're fighting for, what I've been fighting for, what Lane's been fighting for, Henry, Matt Jackson, Paul Navarre, anybody from the CBA, and a lot of people outside of the CBA who should become members, if you ask me, have been fighting for over the last few months is the idea that let's keep OTC archery elk for residents and let's limit it for non-residents. Also linked in the show notes is the big game season structure preliminary alternative and staff recommendations. On page 26, the second to last page, table 1, it shows estimated license and revenue changes associated with limitation of OTC archery elk licenses and quota reduction scenarios. The first table in blue is archery and the second table is rifle. Right now, it doesn't seem like they're going to get rid of OTC rifle for residents or non-residents. Now, we could take this as a small temporary win or say, oh, I'm going to go take my bow and hunt during rifle season with it. Great, but that's not what we want, right? Let's make a sound foundational system in Colorado that protects the ability for residents to hunt every year. You know, a lot of us will put in for a preference point and go hunt OTC so that one day we could go on that dream less crowded hunt while still honing our skills every single year. That's something I've personally done. It took me 3 years of solo hunting to get my first elk. I got 2 elk that season. Last year, I was at full draw several times, never pulled the trigger. Actually had the arrow come off the bow due to my arrows being cut just a bit shorter than I should have had them. I digress. The point being is that I've taken these OTC opportunities to learn and hone my hunting skills. And now this year, I'm taking out several friends on several different trips because they have an OTC tag, and I'll be able to guide them into these places that I've been before. So, what I'm getting at here is that the numbers don't show we have an issue. And what's happening is there is an outpouring of outfitters and other folks that are saying we should go fully limited. But what these folks are saying is that my private clients who pay $5, $7, $10,000 to come hunt with me could have a better experience if there's less people on the landscape. I personally don't feel that this system should be set up for these 900 private outfitting businesses to go have a better client experience for people who are already willing to pay $5,000 to go hunting, $3,000 for a drop camp, $10,000 for a giant bull over X amount of inches. The point I'm getting at is that we need to be unified here and be willing to speak up and speak out. So if you can register to speak at the next commission meeting, I highly urge you to do so. The comment period is coming up soon. So you need to get on this website, Google search CPW Commission, and then you could go and click on June 12th and 13th and say, I want to comment, sign up to comment, get yourself on the list. If you can't be there, if you can't take off from work, if you can't show up for that, then I think you should feel obligated to send an email. And don't just send a generic email to the one email, send a personalized email to each individual staff member. I might be a little advanced for some of our listening audience, but I used the free version of ChatGPT to come up with a custom subject line and a custom opening paragraph for each commissioner based on their personalities. And then I was able to put in my form filled response in the bottom half of this is what I want and this is how we should go for it. Please, please take an hour out of your life to go do this because I don't want to see you on the trailhead complaining to me that we lost OTC archery and you did nothing about it. I don't mean to be harsh out there, but of the hundreds of people that have shown up, there are thousands of people who haven't, who will complain about this. And let's talk about the numbers a little bit. The numbers we're looking at are based on 2021, 2022 hunting numbers. So they may be slightly different in reality, but there were 15,621 resident archery elk hunters. There were 18,000 non-resident archery elk hunters. Over the past several years, the amount of resident archery elk hunters has been about stagnant, if not decreasing, while in that same vein, the amount of non-resident archery elk hunters have increased. And we all know why that is, right? You could come pick up an OTC tag in August. You could go find out you didn't get a tag, draw a tag in any of your other states. So over the counter in Colorado becomes your last resort for elk hunting. I love that people want to hunt elk here. I love that we have 250, 300,000 elk here that we can use as a hunting population. What you might not realize is that we give out more hunting licenses than most Western states combined. And when I say give out, we give out more archery elk hunting licenses than almost all the other Rocky Mountain states combined. And so just this idea that we're being so generous to these non-resident hunters, what that really means is we are addicted to the non-resident hunting dollar. Because if they're going to pay, and I'm using loose numbers here, $800 and I'm paying 70, then their money's almost 10x, if not more, 10x the value of my money spent in this state. Now I'm a resident, I pay taxes, I committed myself to this place for the reason of OTC archery elk hunting. I'm sure many of you out there have as well. I want to clarify a few things. The Colorado Wildlife Commission does not set tag prices. So while it's a valid point that tag prices should be increased for the non-resident hunter, I think it should come up about $300 to be close to the average of the rest of the Western states. That's not something the commission has the ability to affect change on. So as you're preparing your statement or your email, let them know that we're willing to partner with them to help nudge our legislators and our governor that the non-resident price should increase. The other thing is commissioners are not allowed to talk to each other in private about how they feel about these issues. That's why it's much more impactful for you to shoot them an email, send them a phone call, or even show up to these meetings and voice your opinion, because every one of you that speaks up, you're representing 10 to 20 to 50 people that don't speak up. And they know that. They feel this. There are 11 commissioners. One seat is empty. What that means is we either need to get 5 commissioners to vote to maintain status quo for residents for OTC archery, including Chairman Dallas.May, because he is the tie-breaking vote, or we need 6 commissioners to win the outright majority without a tiebreak. This is not insurmountable. If you were in these meetings in January and February and March, it might feel insurmountable because of some of the comments that were made, especially by people like Marie.Haskett, who, if you guys recall, the day before the first commission meeting, or rather the day of the first meeting, which was back in January, I think this was actually in March, she said this, but before they opened up comments to the general public, Marie.Haskett presented, let's get rid of OTC for everybody. 4 months later, after the May meeting, she said the exact same thing. We all presented our arguments over these last 5 meetings. Hundreds of people have spoken up for saying, I'm a resident and I want you to maintain resident hunting. She said the exact same word she said before. Who does she represent? Outfitters. Do I have a problem with outfitters? Absolutely not. I have friends who are outfitters. I sat with outfitters at the Rocky Mountain Bighorn Rendezvous. I am a friend and fan of outfitters. However, the goal here isn't to protect private outfitting businesses. Yes, we should keep some of their interest in mind, but improving the experience for their clientele who are willing to pay the price for an outfitted hunt is not the goal here. So let's put Marie aside, because I don't think we're going to convince her. A lot of the other people on the commission are open. I spoke on the phone today with Gabriel.Otero. He is on our side. He is fighting for us, and he is the man. So thank him for the work that he's doing. I spoke with Richard Reading, the president of the Butterfly Pavilion. He is also leaning our direction. He feels that there's been a bit of a shift and that there's a chance that other people might feel that way as well. But again, they're not allowed to confer with each other outside of public forums. So we need to convince at least 3 or 4 more folks that we need to maintain OTC archery elk for residents. Some of this comes down to fiduciary responsibility. And so what we need to say is that we understand that the commissioners have a fiduciary responsibility. We also understand that they don't get to set tag pricing. So that understanding in mind, we have to be advocates for them. And instead of presenting with vitriol and frustration and anger, we should maybe present ourselves as partners, as allies, as teammates in this fight, so that we can help achieve the unified goals across the board of what we want. So what I think we should present is a few ideas. Obviously, 1, maintain OTC archery elk hunting for residents. This should be true for archery. This should be true for rifle as well, but obviously I'm speaking to the archery audience. The other thing is that an argument has been made that OTC is not a management tool. If you let everybody and their mother go hunt, then how do we know who's hunting where and what animals are being harassed and overcrowded? The reality is, blind OTC archery elk hunting isn't a management tool, because we're allowing 20,000 non-residents to come in and stomp around wherever they want, whenever they want. What we really need to do here is have a mandatory reporting requirement, not for hunter harvest. Yes, that should be included, but for hunter days in the field. Because I hunt several units over the course of about 3 weeks in the month of September. And so I'd gladly tell you I spend 5 days in this unit, 4 days in that unit, 6 days in this unit felt crowded, that unit didn't. We currently do not have that system in place. I think if we advocate that OTC archery elk hunting for residents is a management tool when it is paired with the survey data sorry, let me correct myself, not the survey data, the accurate mandatory reporting requirement data that pours in from every hunter, resident, and non-resident. With those two things combined, we could start to see that over the past few years, resident archery elk hunting has maintained about this 15,000, 16,000 hunting number of hunters in the field. Maybe it will creep up over time, but let's evaluate that over the next 5 years. And if it turns into there's 30,000 resident archery elk hunters, well, one, let's hope they all join the CBA so that we can fight harder for these things. But two, we'll reevaluate it in 5 years. The talk track I've been using is that when we are trying to make a precise decision, we have to use the correct tool, right? If we're going to make a surgical decision here, let's not do surgery with a butcher knife. Let's do it with a scalpel. And so ultimately, what I'm trying to urge you guys to do in this short but hopefully impactful podcast is to reach out to the commission via email, via phone call, via showing up on June 12th and 13th and signing up to speak and being eloquent, being articulate, being calm, being professional, and saying, hey, I'm a resident in this state. My friends and families are residents in this state. OTC archery elk hunting is something that I cherish, not only for meat, but for the experience and for the ability to be a Colorado resident who gets to experience the full breadth of our nature and our wildlife. Let's have equity in this. Let's have the ability for everyone who's decided to become a resident and care so deeply about this to be able to show up, to be able to hunt. Let's make our state a little bit more like Montana and a little bit less like Arizona in terms of the ability to have a good hunting experience as a resident. Let's use the tools of mandatory reporting requirements so that we can make better decisions into the future. Please, everybody, do me a favor and spend a moment to reach out, because if I see you at the trailhead next year and you're complaining to me that we lost this and you didn't show up to these meetings, you do not have a leg to stand on. I don't care who you vote for in the federal government. I don't care what you do at home. I do care if you complain about this without putting any effort forward. Please, let's be a unified front. Let's thank the members of the CBA. Let's thank the members of the commission. Let's thank the people at CPW for the hard work that they do, right? These are not our enemies. These are the people that we have to work with. Let's work on being dignified, eloquent, and impactful. I've linked everything I've talked about in the show notes here. I just want to leave you with the idea that we can make change. We can affect positive change. I personally have lost faith in my ability to affect politics at the federal level. I think it's a waste of time for me to even put effort into. That's why I pour all of my effort into this. I think about hunting every single day. I climb the mountain 3-4 days a week. I shoot my bow every single day. And I don't do it because I'm selfish. I do it because I'm driven to do it. I do it because this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is how I've decided to live my life. And I have truly an elk hunter. I'm not just a selfish elk hunter that shows up and takes. I'm a selfish elk hunter that shows up and participates. Yes, I'm selfish in that I want OTC archery to remain, but I think you should be that way as well. So please, men, women, children, everybody, sign up to speak, send in an email, let your thoughts be heard, and be ladies and gentlemen about it, right? Be honorable people that can present yourselves in a way that isn't just hate and vitriol. And I'm not saying this to blame you. All I'm saying is if you're hearing this message and you have yet to send an email or to show up to a meeting, you're part of the problem, because we need you to have our back here. Let's be louder than the outfitters. Let's be louder than the antis. Let's be a unified front that could get this done. I really, really appreciate you guys. I love this organization. I love this country, and I love the ability to hunt elk. Join me in this fight. I appreciate you all, and have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you on June 12th and 13th at these meetings. Thanks.